What's up, guys? It's Tony from Streetball Strategies, where we use strategy to build your streetball legacy. We're going deep today, guys. We are asking some important questions, and hopefully we can get some important answers to those questions. Today's topic is about curiosity. The reason I'm bringing up curiosity is because as we slide into winter, as it gets colder and colder here in Michigan, and thus us streetballers become more dormant, we spend more time off the court than on the court. We have time then to reflect on ourselves and where we're going as streetball players and where we're at and where we want to be. And being reflective is useful because it lets us know where we are, and it allows us to define goals as to where we want to be and where we're going in the future. And one of the main mechanisms that we use as streetball players is to have as few holes in our games as possible. And any hole that we can't completely eliminate, we try to keep as small as possible and as hidden from our competition as possible. But we're not just talking about on the court stuff here today. We're not talking about your actual game that you bring to the court, at least not specifically. What we're talking about today is your identity as a player. So even if no one ever asks you who you are as a basketball player, how you define yourself, what your goals are, what you want to accomplish, what spending so much time out here means to you, why is it so important to you, why are you so dedicated, why so much effort, why so much time, why so much blood, sweat, and tears for what they see as just a game or a sport. Even if no one ever asks you those questions, even if it's never posed to you by someone else, it is important to ask yourself those questions and to work continuously on the answers to those questions, because you need to have an identity as a streetball player. You need to have a reason for being out here, and you need to have goals as to what you want to achieve out here. And so this is where curiosity comes in, because you need to examine whether or not you are curious to answer those very basic questions. If you are curious to know who you are and what you want and what you're trying to accomplish, and it's something that's continuously on your mind every day, then that's great, and you've kind of already answered half the problem. But I'm sure there are those of you who don't really have that curiosity. If someone asks you those questions, you may not have an answer, you may not care to have an answer to those very basic questions. And that's fine, but you should really examine what that means in terms of, are you as dedicated to this game as you claim to be or want to be? And if it's not important to you to figure out who you are or what you're doing out here or why it means so much to you, you might want to think about that and examine if all this effort that you're supposedly going to be putting out, if it's even something that you want to dedicate yourself so much every day to accomplishing. Because if it's not, that's fine, but you need to understand that there are those of us out here who we have defined who we are and what we want and what we're trying to accomplish, and we have goals that we are feverishly trying to work towards on a daily basis. And part of the reason for that is because we are curious, right? We have set those goals because we asked ourselves, what do we want? And can we get there? Can we reach those goals? And we are curious day in and day out to try to reach those goals. And if you are not, you need to examine that and ask yourself if this means as much to you as you thought it did, and if you're really willing to put in the kind of work the rest of us are putting out on a daily basis. So when it comes to answering those basic questions of who are you, what's your identity, What are you trying to achieve out here? What does it mean to you? What do you want to get out of all the time and effort you put out here? If you are curious to answer those questions, being that they are the most basic questions that can be asked of a streetball player, that's great. But don't be confused in that not everybody has the same questions for themselves out here. Meaning not everyone is curious about the same things out here. You don't have to be curious about the same things that I'm curious about. The things that drive me may not be the same things that drive you, and that's perfectly fine. For me, my curiosity was, what's my potential out here? Where's my ceiling for my ability? And how can I get there? And can I get there? And what's the journey going to be like to get there? That was my sort of overall curiosity as a player, but that may not be what your curiosity is. It's very possible for you to have something else that you're trying to prove to yourself or ask yourself or get better for yourself. It doesn't have to be that general overall goal. It can be something more specific or something that's more ancillary in terms of maybe you just want to work on this particular skill. Maybe you want to see if you can become one of your neighborhood's best three-point shooters. And thus your goals and your curiosity revolve around that question. Can you become one of the best three-point shooters that your neighborhood has ever seen? And thus that will dictate your routine going forward in trying to figure out if you can accomplish that or not. And your curiosity will then drive you to work towards that goal on a regular basis. But your curiosity doesn't have to be the same as mine. And we don't have to define our goals in terms of what other people are trying to accomplish and what other people think we should try to have be our legacy or our process of getting to where we want to be. Your curiosity is going to drive what you want your game to be. And that's cool. That's what we want. We want diversity out here. We want different games. We want different style of players. So don't get caught up in thinking that just because certain players have certain goals, certain accomplishments they're trying to achieve, that those things have to be what you're curious about as well. Your curiosity should be unique to you. That's what we want. And then we want you to chase after that curiosity as hard as you can to accomplish the goals that come along with that curiosity. So let me propose this idea to you. I propose that curiosity supersedes the idea of motivation or inspiration. People use motivation and inspiration to pump themselves up in times of feeling tired or sick or injured or just when they don't have it that day. The problem with motivation is that because it comes from external sources, it is also dependent upon those external sources. When that motivation isn't there, or maybe if you use a certain movie or music to inspire you or to motivate you, if you listen to that song or watch that clip or whatever it is that you use for motivation, if you use that on a regular basis, if you use it over and over again, it can become stale and you can lose interest in sources of external motivation. But the reason curiosity supersedes both motivation and inspiration is that it comes from within you. I find myself in a very peculiar first-time situation when it comes to YouTube, which is, it's winter here in Michigan. It's almost December, and usually I record over here at the local basketball court, but to my chagrin, we actually had somebody show up and started playing, which was kind of awkward because I was over there recording and he wanted to play, and it was like, does he play while I'm recording? Do I record while he plays? And that's a first for me. And it was awkward, but at the same time, this is a teenage guy. He's out there playing by himself, putting in his work. How can I hate on that, right? I mean, touching on the subject of curiosity, he's out there, he's playing by himself, it's 40 degrees, and he's out there playing by himself because he is curious as to what he can do. Now, I don't know his specific particular reason for being out there, but I know it falls in line with him being curious as what he can do by himself on that court while all of his friends are not out there, while they are at home doing whatever they're doing. And he's trying to find out what he can do, especially in temperatures and weather conditions like this. I appreciate his grind and his desire and curiosity to see what he can do with the remaining good weather that we have. That being the case, that winter is coming and we are really going to hit bad weather soon that's going to force us inside and not allow us to play. That's why I bring up curiosity now, so that when we're stuck inside and we can't be out on the court and we can't be playing as much as we would like to, winter is an ideal time to become reflective and to really define our curiosity as streetball players. What can we do? What do we want to do? Who are we? What are we going to try to accomplish when spring hits and we're able to get back out on the court again? We have, here in Michigan, we have about 3 or 4 solid months of being stuck inside and off of the court. And in that time, we should use that time to be reflective and to ask ourselves these questions. And the sooner we ask ourselves these questions, the more questions we ask ourselves, the better track we keep of these questions and what we're trying to be curious about. The sooner we can let those questions sort of marinate in our mind, and when spring then comes, after being stuck inside for so long, we then have all of these questions that we are going to be dying to answer by the time good weather hits again. Set yourself up to answer that curiosity that you're going to be putting yourself through in the winter, because once spring comes, that's going to be your opportunity to start really answering those questions and putting real concrete answers to all of the curiosity that you're going to create for yourself in these months that you're going to be stuck inside and not playing. Use winter as a breeding ground to establish your curiosity as a streetball player. Let it marinate on itself, and then in spring you'll be able to finally get on the court and start answering those questions. And because you're setting yourself up with all that curiosity now, that curiosity will help to push you through and get you through the long, hard winter, because you'll be thinking about these things. You'll be trying to establish in your mind who you are and what you want and what you're trying to accomplish. And you'll use the winter to accomplish part of it, but of course you can't really dig into what you're trying to do until spring comes back and you're really able to get back out on the court and to answer those questions. The winter is a great time to really actively start being curious about yourself and your career and your legacy as a streetball player. And once you sort of go down that rabbit hole, you're going to always be curious. You'll find that once you go down that rabbit hole of curiosity, once you open that box of asking yourself all these questions and then answering them bit by bit, that it becomes something of a process that you want to continue to go through and repeat with different questions, because it reveals who you are and what you're capable of. Once you start unveiling that to yourself and understanding what you're capable of, it's something that you want to continue to do. And curiosity then begets more curiosity as you answer bits and pieces and parts of who you are and what you can do. Once you sort of accept that that that's sort of part of your process and part of what you do and part of what pushes you to be who you're trying to be, then it then sort of becomes a lifestyle when it comes to streetball. What can you do? How well can you do it? You answer that as best as you can, and then you move on to something else. And essentially you do that all over again. Can you do this? How well can you do it? How fast can you do it? How apt are you at naturally doing it? Do you need more practice than other people? Are you better than other people? You answer all these questions, and then you move on to something else, and then you repeat, and then you repeat. And it's something that becomes a lifestyle in terms of improving yourself. And you should buy into it and allow yourself to be curious and allow yourself to start to ask yourself all these tough questions, because the more questions you ask, the more questions you then answer, and then the more well-rounded you become as a streetball player. Thanks for watching, guys, and thanks for being curious about this channel. If you like these ideas, if you like the idea of letting curiosity drive you and be your driving force, then go ahead and like this video. Don't forget to hit that bell so you can be notified of future videos, and definitely subscribe so that you can be immersed in this world of basketball philosophy and exploring ideas like this and being curious about other ideas and pretty much anything that's going to give players like you and me, who don't have as much talent as other players, the kind of advantages that we need to be able to compete with them. But most importantly, the thing that you can do most to support this channel is to share these videos, share the channel, make sure that anyone that you know who is remotely interested in the ideas and philosophy of streetball and ways to get better when you're not as talented as other people out on the court, make sure you share these videos and this channel with them. We're trying to get as many people as possible involved so that we can grow our community and learn from each other as we do it. That's how we improve this community, that's how we grow it, that's how we learn from each other. That's the whole goal for this channel, is to get as many people involved so that we can learn from each other and become better street ballers along the way. So thanks for watching, guys.